Oh, no, I can't do it. Why am I saying it like this? Because you got to understand what God is doing. You have to understand when God says don't touch, don't touch. Because you have to stay with God. I can't touch an unclean thing because I have the favor of God. And to keep the favor of God, I have to keep my hands in his hands. And I can't touch nothing that's unclean. If you understand when it comes to flesh, God knows that glory and flesh can't glory in God's presence. So even though Joseph was going through in the flesh, God loved his spirit, and he ran away, even at the presence of coming on grabbing him. Now I know at that time some of us wouldn't have ran, but Joseph ran. That's our experience in the Bible to show you don't have to stay with sin. Run when you're not. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't run all the time, but thank God for deliverance. Hallelujah, somebody. Yeah. See, here it is. After he's with Potter got upset. She went up there crying. Oh, Lord Jesus. Potter, he raped me. Have mercy. He what? Put on some Tammy Faye Baker too. Just lying on the boy. But understand one thing. That lie was taking Joseph to another area in the Lord. So he ended up having a dungeon experience. Potiphar sent him to the dungeon. Now understand, Potiphar really didn't want to do it because he loved the boy like he was his own son. But he sent him to the dungeon. And he's sitting up there, the dungeon master. I just call him the dungeon master. The Bible don't give him a name. He looked at who Job was. He said, wait a minute, you was in Potiphar's house and you're here now. Look, I know the girl, I know what she did, but you know you're here now. So whatever you did with Potiphar, I know you can do it here. And God blessed him there. God blessed Joseph everywhere he went. From the pit to Potiphar's house to the dungeon. And in the dungeon, he sat up there. Interpret the dreams of the baker and the butcher. One had to go and one was going back to the palace. But look how God fixed things for favor. Somebody say, God is fixing it for my favor. Come on, he's fixing it for my favor. You got to believe that thing. God is fixing it for my favor. Because I'm walking in the favor of God. That's fog I got to walk through. See, guess what? Job was still walking in the mist. He couldn't see the stuff that God already promised him. God promised him that he was going to be royal. God promised him that he was going to have it going on. But he couldn't see it in the midst of the things he was going through. Why did I have to go through the pit? Why did you take me from the pit to Potiphar's house? Just for a moment, just to let me feel some type of freedom. But then why you had to let his wife act crazy and send me to the dungeon? Now I'm sitting here, God. I've got two men coming at me. Yes, I'm still blessing your name. Yes, I'm growing a harvest down here. In the midst of a stinking dungeon where everything is here. Rats and roaches falling all over me. Why do I have to be in this despicable place? Why am I in a place where I can't feel you? Why am I in a place where if I pray, I don't think you can hear me no way? Why? And God was yet fixing it. Why he was crying? Why? God was fixing it. And actually what God did, oh, I'm about to come home now. But as God was fixing it, as God was moving it, God was sitting up there, devising a plan in the heavenlies. He jacked up Pharaoh with the dream that was come to pass. Hold it, wait a minute, y'all. But he got there with a dream that was coming to pass. And guess what, y'all? All the scribes, all the king's men, all the little horse couldn't put Pharaoh's dream back together. So what God did, devised the plan, and the butcher had to come up. The butcher overheard the dream that he was talking about. So what did the butcher do? I just remember who told me I was coming back. I'm coming back to this palace. And he got the words of Pharaoh. And he told the Pharaoh, said, bring them here. What are you talking about? I heard your dream. I had a dream in the dungeon where you sent Joseph, Potiphar's servant. And guess what he did? He told me I was going to be back here serving you, and here's the cup I'm serving you with. Here's the butler serving him. And the butler told him about Joseph. Now we can go there. In the midst of him serving him, God found favor. God told him, go ahead and get him. Get that boy out the dungeon. In the midst of my dungeon experience, while God is working it out, I can't feel God. I can't see what God is doing because there's a fog in front of me. And I can't understand it's the favor of God. But yet God is working things out. God is working some stuff out. God is moving some things. God is devising some things just for my favor. Yes! Turn around and tell somebody, I'm going to live in the favor of God. Guess what, y'all? As favor is happening, I'm yet in the dungeon. As favor is about to happen, I'm yet going through. As favor is happening, I'm yet discombobulated. As favor is happening, my equilibrium is thrown off. As favor is happening, God is fixing it. Yes! God fixed it. God fixed the favor for my good. Guess what he did? As I was being delivered, to encourage myself, I have to get like David. You got to encourage yourself in the Lord. No matter what, you're going through some stuff, but God is fixing favor for you. You're yet going through a trial, but God is yet fixing favor. As the butler was talking to the Pharaoh and telling him about Joseph, he sent word, go get that boy out the dungeon. Here it comes. Joseph don't understand. God yet heard his prayer because Jesus knows that Joseph had a right spirit. Joseph had the right heart, no matter what his brothers did. Joseph had the right spirit after God because of the relationship that he kept with Jesus, because of the relationship that he kept with God. He couldn't understand. As he was living, it was a fall. Favor of God. Yes, I'm living in God's favor. And that means when I'm going through, that means when everything is going topsy-turvy, that means God is yet fixing it. Hallelujah. I'm on my way out of here. But God devised it. Well, here he comes. They had to clean him up a little bit because you can't go before a king any kind of way. It has to be a presentation. So they had to wash him up. I can just imagine, just like sin.